all of these experiences we have as educators, it doesn't have to be like so. I mean, I know it is inherently political, but it doesn't have to be so political. It can be just like honest and truthful and just like show your good intentions. Like, my intention is not to sit in the library all day and do nothing and earn a paycheck from doing nothing. My intention is to be the best librarian I can be. And so if that's my intention and I'm transparent about that, then how can anybody be upset with what I have to say?
Hello, friends, and welcome to Season 4 of the Future Ready Librarian podcast series, Leading from the Library. This is a podcast for all librarians wherever you are in your journey. It is filled with amazing guests, important topics, and engaging conversations that will inspire, engage, and support all of us to be future-ready librarians. I am your host, Shannon McClintock-Miller. I am the district teacher librarian at Van Meter Community School in Van Meter, Iowa, and I serve as the Future Ready Librarian spokesperson. I have the pleasure of working within my library and school community and also others around the country and world through Future Ready Librarian events, conferences, consulting, writing, and more. And I am so honored to bring these voices and the work of others to our podcast and to all of you. And today I am super excited to welcome a new friend, Kelsye, to our podcast. And we're going to hear all about her. I know that she's an elementary librarian and I can't wait to hear more. So welcome.
Hi, welcome. My name is Kelsye Baudoin, and I'm from South Louisiana, New Iberia, Louisiana, to be exact. And I am an elementary librarian in a pre-K to 6th grade school. So glad to be here.
Yay! I am so happy too. Yeah, I work with preschool to 12th graders in my school, but those little ones, pre-K to 5, are my fave. So it's the best job, isn't it, to be an elementary librarian?
It's like being a celebrity.
I love it. Were you in the classroom before, or have you always been a librarian?
I was in the classroom for 1 year as I was actually seeking certification for the library. So I've always been very library oriented. But yeah, I've had a lot more experience in the library than in the classroom.
Oh, I love it. You're like a celebrity. Isn't that the truth? Like, you walk down the hall and everybody like knows who you are. We get to work with all the kids, all the teachers. It's pretty great. Now, when we were planning and talking, the reason that I asked Kelsye to be on the podcast was she has been putting out just these amazing infographics and information and all this advocacy, and especially for School Library Month, it's been just so refreshing and inspiring and just really empowering to people. And as we were planning, one thing that really stood out to me that Kelsye wrote was that she wanted to talk about transparent advocacy. And so I want you to tell us what that means to you.
I just decided to coin that.
I love it.
So actually, the way all this kind of started was I had been invited to join this fellowship in Louisiana. It's called the LEAD Fellowship. I believe it's Louisiana Educator Advocacy Development. And we just had a retreat last weekend where we visited the Capitol. We went to Baton Rouge. We visited the Capitol. We learned all about advocacy. And it was just like the most enlightening, inspiring, just an amazing experience. I was the only librarian, but I was surrounded by these educators that were all just like so supportive. They could just like see that I love library. Like, I'm such a nerd. I'm so obsessed with the library. And so it was just such a good experience to be with like-minded educators. And it was really crazy, just like coming back to school the next day and being like pushed back into the reality of the everyday all of a sudden after you have this like life-changing experience. And it just struck me that like that day was not prepared to come back to work, and I needed a little bit more time to like kind of marinate in the experience I had just had. And so one of the things we had talked about that like for years now, I haven't really been able to figure out what it is. But when people talk to me, they're like, oh, I love how just like straightforward you are. I love how honest you are. Like, and I've always been a people pleaser. So I've always been a little bit obsessed with not like upsetting people. I don't want to, say it the wrong way, but I've also just kind of always had these good intentions. And I feel like that's why people have always related to me. And when I was at this retreat, it just kind of struck me that the reason why people feel so open to me is because I'm transparent. And that word like really stuck with me. Like that's what I need in my life. And that's what other people need in their lives. Like all of these experiences we have as educators, it doesn't have to be like so. I mean, I know it is inherently political, but it doesn't have to be so political. It can be just like honest and truthful and just like show your good intentions. Like my intention is not to sit in the library all day and do nothing and earn a paycheck from doing nothing. My intention is to be the best librarian I can be. And so if that's my intention and I'm transparent about that, then how can anybody be upset with what I have to say? So that's just kind of what I feel like that's like a new thing to me is I'm just like, I feel like when we advocate for ourselves and when we share stuff about the library, we really just need to be transparent.
That's wonderful. Like that's how I feel too. Like I always think that also as librarians, like I feel too, when I go to school, like one thing that I can do too from my positivity is I think that people gain that, like teachers, from what comes in the library. And we always say, the library is the heart of the school. And what can we bring? What good can we bring to the school? And it's not just all the great things that we do through books or through our collections or through technology. It's also that community that we're building. And when you say like those good intentions, I think that is one of the best qualities definitely that we can have as librarians.
And really, I think too, as we're talking about it, I'm thinking about my students too, and how much that has just truly cultivated my relationship with them is the fact that I'm just completely transparent with them. Like we sleep on the idea of being transparent with our students, but they trust me because they know I'm going to tell them the truth and that I'm going to say it nicely and with love, but that it's going to be the truth, and I feel like we just need more of that. Like just be transparent. Let's just let our intentions fly and explain ourselves.
Yes.
Rainbows.
And be kind. Yes, I love that. So tell us about your infographics. And I think that that's the neatest thing is just like, now you've created something that you've given to other people and you've given that not only to them to see themselves, but to share with their community. And I was just telling Kelsye before we started that we'll be sharing the things that she talks about in the podcast notes so everybody can see it if you haven't seen them yet. So tell us a little about them.
So after this experience, this retreat that I went on, and I was just so inspired, and I started thinking, well, I've been thinking this for a while now, like for so long, well, let me say this. I'm in my 6th year of the library. So for me, 6 years, for so long, my whole life, I'm new. But for my entire career thus far, and I say that I was a library clerk before I was a librarian. So I have been in the library for a decent amount. But anyway, so for just this whole career of mine now, I've been trying to like pinpoint this attitude that I find people having about librarians. And I don't want to be negative, but, you can just feel the way people think about librarians, or at least this is from my experience, right? So, some of the people I've talked to, I've just heard the comments. In fact, my first interview that I ever had, they had actually said, well, all she does is sit on the computer all day. We need a new librarian because all she ever did was sit on the computer all day. And like the fact that they said that to me in an interview, like I was just thinking, what if that's like, what if I sit on the computer all day? What if you hire me and I sit on the computer all day? Are you going to, are you sure that that's a librarian problem? Or maybe that's a you problem. Maybe you don't understand what she is doing on the computer all day. And I didn't even know this person at the time. And I still was just like, I don't know. Like, I wonder if that's really what happened, or if that's, what they perceived. And so, like I said, for the past 6 years, I've just been constantly getting comments like that. I have a few people who have said, oh, the librarian before you, she had a whole day off. She had this whole day off. And I'm like, off? What is off? That's not a thing. Like, we have stuff to do. So it's just kind of always been all these comments. And I keep questioning, like, do people really think this? And it started me thinking, I think they don't know any better. I think that none of these people ever had to go to library school like I went to library school, take these library science courses. They never had to be trained in this, so they just don't get it. And, so it just got me thinking, and I started thinking, whenever my teachers bring their classes to the library, I'm always sitting at the computer, and I have this guilt, this horrible guilt that they think that I'm just sitting there like texting my friends on this computer, making a hair appointment, or like, what do they think I'm doing? And really, it's like I can't leave the computer because as soon as I do, I have 500 emails and, this and that. So it just started making me think, I wonder if people realize that like our job is just, it might not be like, it is physical, but it's not visual. Like they can't see what we're doing because it's all occurring in our brains. Like this is all about thought, and it is a science. Like that's why they call it library science, because there's this whole organized thought process of things that we have to think about. And so I just, I wanted to be able to put that in something that was visual, something to be able to explain myself, because I'm such a people pleaser. When I like talk about this with people, especially people who aren't librarians, I will be the first one to back up and be like, are they right? And kind of back off of my convictions because I am questioning if I'm really correct. And when I leave the other person, I'm like, you know what? I am correct. I'm the expert. Why am I letting them tell me what my job is? I know what my job is, and I second guess myself. And so I just wanted to be able to put it all together into this like very obvious thing of like, when you see a librarian at the shelf, it's not just them shelving a book. That's not something that our students can just do for us all the time. I mean, it's not that they can't, but you're taking something away from us when that happens. That's my time to see my collection, which is how I'm best servicing my students with this collection that is made just for them. And just things like that, and the whole sitting at the computer, like you don't see the constant organization, data, this, that's going into this because you're not on the other side of that computer. And I've just always thought if everybody could just job shadow me for the day.
Yes, right?
If they could just job shadow us for the day, they would stop saying these things. So I just, I started thinking about all of the problems that I have been fighting in my short 6 years of being a librarian, and, just how can I change this perception? How can I make other people see what's really going on? Because they don't understand it, and they're going to keep not understanding it if we don't say it. So
yeah, that's awesome. I know. So I have to ask, like, when you made that, have you shared it within your school?
So when I first made it, I was in a very bad mood. And some of it was very passive aggressive. And I had shared it like in the little Future Ready Librarian Facebook group and maybe one or
Yes.
two others, just kind of feeling it out. And I was like, this is just me being angry and it's going to be fine. Then people started commenting on it and they're like, can you make this a poster? Can I buy this? Like, I want a copy of this. And I was like, hold on. I can do better than that. Like, we're not spreading this around with my anger. Like, I need this to be factual because I had just like spent so much time on it. I got exhausted and I was like, I need a break from this, but I shared it, kind of feeling people out, see what they thought. And when I started seeing the reaction and the response, I was like, no, this is not what I'm putting out. I want something that is factual, that is going, I don't want to push away the people that I'm trying to educate. I don't want to put them off and make them feel bad about thinking these things. I just want them to be receptive to the idea that their thoughts, weren't about our job weren't accurate. So I had to say, hold up, I can do better. Let me go and clean it up because it was kind of messy in the little squares and let me change some of these thoughts to be straight up facts and not my anger. And so then I started sharing it. And I have not shared it with my school as of yet. I did share it on my Facebook, and all of my coworkers and my administration are on my Facebook. But I haven't gotten a reaction from anybody yet. So
positive. I think it will be good. I think it will be great. And tell me again, what is the title of it, just to give people context of.
Yes, I had 2 graphics that I made, and the first one is, what is the school librarian doing? And that one was just about like what it looks like. Like when you see your librarian doing this is what we're probably actually doing that you don't see. And then the other graphic is called Misperceptions of the School Librarian. And that one is a little bit more about like just the reality of our jobs. And for instance, I had an administrator say something to me about the fact that I don't grade papers and how I needed to be able to watch the classes until the very last day of school because I don't submit grades and teachers need to go to the bathroom. And little things like that we get told all the time. And so that one's just more about trying to clarify what our duties were originally intended to be when they were first created.
Yeah.
So
it's really awesome though, like just to even have this conversation, because I think that it helps also not just people's perceptions, but it helps and empowers us to feel like, and especially when we all have bad days. We all have those weeks or months or, even, the last 2 years have been really hard. And so I think this time of year, it's good for us as librarians to hear that from each other, right? Like you guys are okay and you are doing amazing things, and just empowering our community to feel like we are okay. It is okay to sit at your computer and okay to do those things, right? We are so busy all the time. And I think just putting it out there and being, like, as you said, like transparent, like is a really great thing. I'm proud of you, girl.
Thank you. We're currently on spring break, which is part of why I have kind of been waiting. Everybody's been busy relaxing. So
yes.
I'm interested to see when I go back to work what's, if anybody is going to have noticed.
You're like, just be proud and put your head up high, right?
I know. And like you said, this is like March. And it's April now, but
Wow.
I've realized that from March to May, that's like the hardest time of the year. And like you said, even the teachers, they walk in and I'm like, y'all, I swear I'm doing my job. Like, I know I'm always sitting at this computer, but I'm working. And they're like, girl, we feel the same way as you do.
It is like survival. I think this year, even more so than last year, it is like everybody just has to be on, just the same page. We have to support each other. And those little things that we can give each other are the best things. And so I think, thus everybody being so excited about what you created, it's a great thing. I love it.
It was so cool seeing how many people were sharing it. And I was like telling my husband, I was like, I'm library viral. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, this is like a lot of shares. I mean, it's not like the whole world, but like for librarians, this is a lot of shares.
Like, this is a big thing. Oh, I love it. I love it. I know. Well, I just really appreciate you like joining me and having this conversation. And we all just love, that's part of the great thing too about being a librarian is not just within our own school, but don't you love the community that we have too, that is not just in our country, but global. We're all so lucky to be part of this community.
I love the fact that no matter where I go, if I run into a librarian, especially a school librarian, like we're friends. We're just automatically friends.
Isn't that the best?
We're the only ones who get it. We're friends.
I know. Isn't that the best thing? I love that part. I love that so much. I know. But I am glad that you were on. I can't wait for you to share in our comments so everybody who hasn't seen your amazing work can see it too. And how can people find you online? Why don't you tell them how they can find you if you have a blog or if you're on social media?
So I am the Lanyap librarian because I'm located in Cajun country, and Lanyap means just a little bit extra. So I am a little bit extra, perfect definition. So that's LAGNIAPPE, Lanyap Librarian, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and my email. And I just started a Google site.
Good. That's awesome. Well, I am just excited. I can't wait to meet you in person someday. I can't wait to it's been so great to be like out and about again with everyone and just connecting. But thanks for coming on to the podcast and sharing your story and just your thoughts. And you're doing amazing things, girl. I love it. Even though you've only been a librarian for 6 years, you got it.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's been a good experience.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much too. But thanks for joining us. And we just really appreciate everything that you shared. And as I said, everybody who's going to be able to find Kelsye's information attached to this podcast along with her resources. And you'll be able to also get a certificate of professional development that you can download and fill out to use. As always, thank you to all of our listeners for joining us for this episode of the Future Ready Librarian podcast series, Leading from the Library. And a very special thank you to our sponsor, Follett. You make a difference in library schools and within our lives and that of our students every day. So we appreciate everything that you do to support us. Please send any questions or shout outs to me at shannonmcclintockmiller@gmail.com or tag me at Shannon M. Miller if you have an idea or you want to be part of the podcast. We would love to hear from you. And I hope that you can take what you learned in today's podcast and put it to use within your own practice as a future ready librarian. Until next time, friends, keep finding ways to lead within and from your library. Yay! I love it. You were awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was such a fun thing to do.
Yes, it will be good. And they do a really, they'll do like a little, kind of like a little teaser the week before. And so I'll make sure that you have that, and they'll tag you and your things. And if there's anything else you think of, just put it in the Google Doc, and then I can share it.
I can definitely do that.
And next time I know this fall, advocacy is part of our kind of my brainstorming around webinars. So I'm going to keep your name on my list, girl. So
Yes. Oh, thank you. I'm actually on LASL with Lovey Howell and Amanda Jones.
yeah.
And so we've been doing a lot of stuff. So I'm sure any of us will have something to tell you by then.
I'm going to put that down because I think that would be great. And I was just brainstorming with, her name is Leah, that I work with at the Alliance with Future Ready, and just brainstorming ideas for the fall. And I think advocacy is such a important thing and so positive, like to kick off the year. And so I am going to write your guys' name down, and all three of you would be awesome. So
well, thank you.
Well, have a good night. Go enjoy your cute little kitten.
Thank you.
I know. I love it. And reach out if you ever need anything or think of anything that you want to add. So I really appreciate you having just a little time for me today. Thanks.
Oh, thank you for thinking of me and for inviting me. This was wonderful.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, you'll hear from me very soon.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for joining us for the Future Ready Librarian podcast, Leading from the Library. I would like to also thank our sponsor, Follett Learning, for their amazing continued support.